there's no place like home for the holidays. And no matter how far away you roam, if you pine for the sunshine of a friendly gaze, for the holidays you can.
Welcome back to Horror for the Holidays, a Christmas horror movie podcast. I'm Jay Logston.
And I'm Jeff Searcy.
How you doing today, Jeff?
Oh, you know, the usual, Jay.
Anything?
Terrible.
Terrible?
Oh, you know, I thought it was kind of weird when you messaged me about this episode, Jay, and you were like, yeah, we're going to do I Trap the Devil. And I was like, well, I think I remember what you're talking about. So I went and watched 1960s The Howling Man. It's a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah.
That I believe has heavily, as the kids say these days, quote unquote, inspired this movie. And by inspired, I mean takes the exact same plot.
I mean, it is. I mean, I think there's no kind of hiding that was the main inspiration for this episode. Also, I like The Howling Man. That's a pretty solid one.
The Howling Man is a good episode, and I think in a way more satisfying than this movie. But we'll get into that.
No, I mean, one of my favorite Twilight Zone memories of those Twilight Zone marathons that they used to show all the time on Sci-Fi. Now I think they've really kind of trimmed them back, but there used to just be nonstop Twilight Zone. Was one time when my oldest was first born, my wife and I, it was the 4th of July. We'd had a really busy day. We'd went back to our place, and my wife was like, well, we should really go see fireworks, as she and the baby fell asleep. And so I was sitting there watching the Twilight Zone, and I looked out the window and could literally see the fireworks from our back porch.
Nice.
And so I was like, well, I gotta see the fireworks. It wasn't too bad.
Well, yes, in the closing narration of that episode, I think a quote that would have been nice to include in this movie, and kind of just tells you the entire plot of the movie right up front. There's an ancient folk saying, "You can catch the devil, but you can't hold him long."
No, that's pretty fitting. So let's deck the halls for 2019's I Trapped the Devil. Released April 26th, 2019. Ooh, bad date.
Ooh, yeah.
Don't like that.
Yeah, that's not good. That's like the opposite of what you want.
Hey, IFC, get your release dates figured out.
Get your act together.
I mean, man, that's almost as bad as releasing Late Night with the Devil, a Halloween movie in March.
Yeah.
Which they also just did because it's also an IFC film.
Well, at least that one is still currently in theaters, so you could do it as a halfway to Halloween release at least.
Yeah.
And we're not anywhere near halfway to Christmas.
Or Christmas in July. Written and directed by Josh Lobo, who I think one time on Twitter said something like, I should set all of my movies at Christmas, which sounds like a great idea to me.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well.
Also, the only other credit I saw for Josh was on...
Dave in the Maze or Dave in the Maze.
I've not seen that, but it looks amazing.
Yeah, people have recommended that to me before.
No, it's one of those where every time I see it, I'm like, that looks really good, and I just need to sit down and watch it.
This movie was shot in 9 days, Jay. And guess what? I think they should have taken 10.
Scott Poitras plays Steve, kind of our main character. AJ Bowen is his brother Matt, and we will see AJ Bowen again in Deathcember.
Oh.
Susan Burke is Matt's wife Karen. There we've kind of got our 3 main characters knocked out.
I think she's also in a couple of Christmas horror movies.
Jocelyn Donahue, Steve's deceased wife Sarah, is in All the Creatures Were Stirring and Holidays. That might be who you were thinking of.
Yeah, that could be.
IMDb lists the budget of $1 million. Which, I mean, sounds about right for 2018, 2019 money.
Yeah, before everything inflated, now it'd be like $4 million.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not really a ton to talk about in our Deck of the Hall segment. Even Matt didn't have much in his book.
I mean, I think it's a symptom of this is barely a feature-length movie. I think it clocks in around 80 minutes with credits. So, I mean, it's a weird movie because it is a quick movie chronologically, but it feels like a long movie while you're watching it.
Personal experience with for me, I'd actually found this movie on Hulu at one point, just kind of scrolling, looking through stuff, and I like watched for whatever reason I watched the trailer, and I went, oh shit, it's set at Christmas, so I instantly added it to the list.
It was a simultaneous release. It was a limited theatrical run, and then Hulu bought the rights to stream it.
I would have seen this in theaters, but that's me. Any personal experience for you other than me just telling you, hey Jeff, we're gonna watch I Trapped the Devil?
No, that was it.
All right. Where to watch it? You can buy a copy from Shout Factory, Scream Factory on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Otherwise, rent it, I guess. When Jeff and I were first looking, it listed it on Tubi, and now I don't see it anywhere on Tubi.
Yeah. I would recommend renting to see if you like it or not.
It's kind of one of those. I had a lot of the reviews I think are very negative, maybe overly so. But it's kind of one of those where like I think you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it, and there's no real in between. And I think maybe even there's no real in between me and Jeff, because I think one of us loved it, and one of us hated it.
I think we'll see, Jay. I may be the mythical one.
So yeah, let's dive into our synopsis here.
Some people have called me the Liaison Al Gaib, Jay.
I don't know what that means. I've not seen Dune.
It's the voice from the outer world.
Is that a Dune thing?
I'm saying I'm God, basically.
Oh, okay. Is that a Dune thing?
Yes, it
is. All right. I'm the mind killer. You call me Fear.
Very good, Jay. You remembered a thing from the movie.
Yeah. Oh man, we have to talk about Dune real fast. So I've not seen Dune. I know nothing about Dune. But one of my old roommates, Weasel, is like a huge Dune fan. Dune's like his favorite movie. That's like one of the few things. I mean, I know a lot about Weasel, but like one of the early things I knew about Weasel is that he loves Dune. And so at one point we had this DVR in our apartment, and it was filling up pretty quickly. And I went, well, no one needs Dune. Weasel loves Dune, so clearly I can delete that. So then like later that week we were sitting down to watch TV, and Weasel was like, oh, I recorded Dune. And I was like, oh, I deleted that. And he's like, why'd you delete it? I'm like, because Dune's your favorite movie. Why wouldn't you own Dune?
Yeah, that's
and
true.
so it was this big argument, and then it ended with me buying him Dune, like on Blu-ray for Christmas that year.
That's good.
To make up for the fact that I deleted Dune off the DVR.
Very odd to not own your favorite movie.
In a weird way, that's why I blame him for deleting Dune, because it's his favorite movie. He should own it on like DVD.
Yeah.
I own multiple copies of Black Christmas. It's my favorite movie.
Yes.
Like, I also own a copy of I Love You Man and a copy of Alien. Those are my favorite movies.
I was going to say, pretty much every movie I even passively like I own. So
I even own a copy of Corky Romano, my ironically favorite movie. All right, let's get into it. We start with kind of two police officers entering a house, boarded up doors, windows, paper covering newspapers covering the windows.
Please, Jay. Please tell me this isn't going to be one of those I started at the end to go back to the beginning movies.
It's exactly one of those.
Ah.
There are Christmas lights kind of strewn everywhere, kind of our only real light source. Very neat effect. I always love the dark room with Christmas lights.
No, the cinematography in this movie is pretty beautiful.
They kind of go around checking different rooms, and one of the officers is kind of intrigued by the TV in the living room that kind of keeps flickering on and off, just showing like static, before he hears a noise and goes off to investigate. Opening credits / title card.
I Trapped the Devil.
I do love the in between all of the. I could have taken or leaving the T's being crosses in the opening credits, but I did love that to like switch between people's names. There was like TV static or old tube TV like flashing on and off. I thought that was a really neat effect.
Yeah, it was cool. I always love it when a movie does an interesting opening credit scene.
Yeah. No indication, but now we are earlier in the movie.
Yes.
We go back in time. Matt and Karen arrive at Steve's house for Christmas, the house that we just left.
And he was not expecting them.
Yeah, Matt really has to kind of force his way inside as like Steve has, blocked the front door. So Matt kind of gets his way inside while Karen smokes a cigarette and finds a bullet casing out in the yard. The lights on the Christmas tree behind her then kind of flash on and off as Steve he's like, "Oh, Maddie, what are you doing here?" And he's holding like this large butcher knife.
Yep, classic.
Steve keeps getting these mysterious phone calls as Matt's nose starts to bleed when he gets the first one. Steve tries to get them to leave, but Matt and Karen insist on staying because it's Christmas. Steve spends a lot of his time sat in front of a TV, in front of that TV from earlier, as static images kind of flash on it. We see a woman dancing, and I think we kind of hear an eerie screaming and stuff.
Yeah, there's some very weird effects going on TV.
Yeah, they all kind of sit down for dinner, and kind of try to have small talk, and it gets interrupted by another phone call.
Of course, that small talk culminates, Jay, in me saying, "I got a guy locked in my basement."
Did you guys know I have I've trapped some kind of devil in my basement? At one point, then Steve kind of says "Hey Matt, can I talk to you in the kitchen alone?" And he's like, "Did anyone follow you out here?" And then Matt kind of gets belligerent, and he's like, "What do you mean? What are you talking about? You can I think starts asking him questions, and then Steve's like, "Matt, do you trust me?" And then Matt's like, "Yeah," and then then Steve says, he has to show him something.
And that's when he says, "Bro, I trapped the devil."
I trapped the devil in my basement. Meanwhile, Karen kind of walks around the house, snoops around. We see kind of a children's room that is left untouched, kind of all the toys just kind of strewn around. She goes and lights a cigarette in what I think is Steve's bedroom.
Yeah.
And finds a gun hidden underneath a dresser, with bullets in it. And she kind of walks around a little spooked. And then she goes back downstairs and sees Matt, who just, looks like, I don't know, he saw someone had trapped the devil in their basement.
Yes.
And they go upstairs to kind of talk about it. And the first thing he does, which I love this, is he unwraps the bottle of liquor that they brought and just takes a large swig of it before just saying he's got a man trapped in his basement.
Yep. Listen, Steve, I think we should let this man go and get you some mental help.
So then they go downstairs to the basement to kind of investigate, to see this. And let's talk about the basement real fast, because the basement is so dang cool.
Yeah, I like it.
It's all lit in red. It's always lit in red underlighting or whatever. And it's, it's a very traditional kind of shop basement. I'd say almost a dirt floor kind of looking basement.
Unfinished, definitely.
Yes, very unfinished. And then there's just this door that has a large cross sitting in it with barricaded in a way.
It's kind of barricaded. It's triple locked. Giant cross on the door.
And
with a weird symbol on the cross, by the way.
And then Steve goes and he removes the cross, and then this voice just kind of echoes out, asking who's out there and stuff. And
Also,
kind of asking for help.
Jay, if you hear that voice, I mean, you may not think it's the devil, but that definitely does not sound like a human.
Oh no, it's a real fucking creepy ass voice.
It's I think that's probably be all I would need to buy that he's got something trapped in there.
Yeah, I'd be like, maybe it's not the devil, but he's got something trapped in his basement. They go around and it kind of talks to them. And then Steve goes and I think they don't say anything, right? They just kind of listen to him.
Yeah, they just listen, and it's clear that now the wife has more doubt, because before she was just your brother's fucking crazy. We need to let this guy out and turn him in. And then she goes down there. When they come back up, she's kind of not sure what's going on.
Well, I think that's because I think later doesn't she sneak down there herself?
She does sneak down there again, but when she comes up from this first round, you kind of see on her face that now she's beginning to doubt what's going on, because there's a little hint, because when the devil starts talking, you hear a normal voice or whatever, and then as he's getting towards the end of what he says that first time around, you can hear it kind of bleeding into that weird echoey voice effect. And I think that kind of spooks him a little bit.
No, the voice is so creepy.
Yeah, it's a great job with the voice effect for sure.
Yeah, so they go back upstairs, and I think they kind of talk about it. And is this where Steve shows Matt his conspiracy room.
Yes, it's close to that time where you get the first look at the conspiracy room.
And so it's almost like an attic room because it's where kind of the roof joists like come together. And he's just covered the walls in like newspapers and then connected them with like
String.
conspiracy string.
It's your classic conspiracy room.
And he's talking about basically how, that person down there is he's trapped the devil because a bunch of like evil, ever since he trapped this guy, all the evil in the world has stopped or something like that.
Well, yeah, he's saying, because he shows his brother a book too that he's been reading, and he's like, man commits evil or whatever, but the devil also like supernaturally intervenes and convinces people to commit evil that they wouldn't otherwise commit. And he thinks that by trapping this, he's lowered the amount of supernaturally influenced evil in the world.
And so like he goes and kind of explains all this, and I think even like references that like a missing little girl was returned to her house, and that's kind of his proof, like that, oh no, what I'm doing is working.
Yeah, he's like, this girl, she found her way home, and that never would have happened if he was free.
And it's a real kind of interesting thing too, where with all of that, just because like that whole idea is, like those two things could be completely unrelated, or maybe he's onto something.
Yes, this is the point where Matt is he's entertaining the idea. Basically, he's not fully convinced, but he's a little more open to it. His wife is like shaken, but still like, I'm not going to be party to kidnapping a man.
Right, exactly. and I think this is where Matt then asks him about like the phone calls he's been getting and like the TV. And this is where Steve kind of says like he's been getting messages. Yes. Or it's implied that he's like getting messages through these phone calls, and that someone is coming to set the devil free. He thinks it's Matt.
Yes, because he believes that Matt didn't come here of his own free will because of their broken relationship. He thinks he was influenced to come here by the devil.
Yep, which is kind of creates like another neat dynamic within the movie. So they're kind of talking about this, and while this is going on, this is when Karen sneaks back down to the basement, and I think she goes and like lifts the cross back off. Yes. The voice starts talking to her.
She's going to release him. I think that was her intention, but the devil just can't help himself.
And so there's this great line where like she's getting ready to do it, and then she like hesitates for a moment. And the voice just goes, "Good choice," and starts like sinisterly laughing. I love that moment. That's so creepy.
And it's like at that point, what are you thinking at this point? It's like it's definitely something evil trapped in there.
What I love too is that like I think it already knows their names, even though like which would be my first clue that like, oh, you trapped something down here because how does it know my name?
Karen. Good choice, Karen. I'm definitely not evil.
Steve pulls Karen out of the basement by gunpoint and kind of starts threatening them, and I think like telling them to leave.
Yes, Matt's able to talk him down.
And so then they kind of they go upstairs and go to bed. Is that kind of what happens?
Yeah, now that we all know that the devil is trapped in the basement, I think we should take a nap.
Matt goes back to the conspiracy room and is kind of looking over stuff, and I think this is where we've kind of talked around it, and this is a thing that I think would have been better to just maybe do at the beginning of the movie. This is where it's revealed that like Steve's family was killed in like a car wreck.
His wife and daughter were killed in an accident at Christmas time.
And so that's kind of what,
on Christmas.
And so that's what kind of launched this descent into madness. And I think, this is why, Steve potentially believes that, the devil caused this, and maybe in some way he can bring his wife and kid back or something, or certainly he can stop it from happening again.
So I think his main drive is stopping it from happening to anybody else, so they don't have to suffer like he's suffered.
And so then we get kind of a we get like a scene where I think Karen or Matt is kind of fed up with it, and they're gonna go. They've decided they're gonna go let the person out.
Karen, despite all that's happened, which is another, it's weird, but we'll talk about it. She's like, "Oh, that's it. I'm letting him out. This has gone far enough." And Steve's like, "Oh no, you're not."
And so Matt, Steve locks Matt in the conspiracy room.
Yes.
And then he's basically like, "Go ahead, do it," and then knocks her out or something like that.
He whaps her. She's knocked out.
And so, then Steve kind of goes back upstairs. He's still holding that gun, and he goes back upstairs. I think the TV starts flickering again. He starts seeing images, and then suddenly there's just this man standing in his house
The bunny man.
with holding the bunny that I think Karen was holding earlier in the child's room.
Yes.
And then he's like, I can't stop the bleeding, as blood just starts pouring out of the bunny and like pouring out of like everywhere. And Steve's vision is then just like flooded in darkness. And then he sees this vision of his wife like kind of dancing
blindfolded.
but also like confused, but also like it seems very like kind of like dancing, very eerie kind of movements.
Yes, and this is when he realizes, because obviously he knows his wife is dead, he realizes he's having like a vision or whatever, and he goes to shoot Sarah.
Yeah, and that's when Matt's able to get out of the room, and I think Karen comes too, and they're able to kind of calm him down.
Yes, they
and
shake
stop
him back. They're like, "Oh my God, calm down." And then Matt's like, "Well, now that you're calmed down and I've got the gun from you, I'm gonna go free the prisoner."
Yeah, and so he goes downstairs. I think maybe undoes a couple of gets the cross off the door, undoes a couple of the locks, and then Steve shows up and stabs him, killing Matt. And Karen just kind of stands there and lets it happen. They then go upstairs, like
Well, he stabs her. So Steve stabs Matt.
Yes.
And he's dying on the floor. And this is when the voice from behind the door starts talking to Karen. And it's like, if you let me out, I could save him.
Yep.
He's still alive.
Yep. And she goes upstairs, and like Steve's sitting there, like, I mean, obviously crushed. He just killed his brother. His wife and kid are dead. He's got this devil trapped in his basement. Like he's having this real breakdown, and he's just kind of sitting there, and Karen just walks up, pulls out the gun, and just shoots him. And then we cut to the police officers like getting a meal or whatever.
Right back to the beginning of the movie. After they get their meal, they head out and drive towards the house.
Yep, and they get shots fired at such and such a residence. So they drive out there and they kind of go and investigate the house. We get the opening scene all over again.
Alan and Ben are the ones.
And I think Alan's the one who's like watching the TV, and he sees, initially we just saw the static, but then we kind of see like, I want to say like people dancing again, and then like an image of Santa Claus on the screen. Which like is cool, but I was like, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, is that like a Santa from like a Christmas special? Because it's kind of a creepy looking Santa. And then it's like, no, that's just a guy they got to like put on a creepy Santa outfit.
It's just a guy, Jay.
Which I don't know. I think I would have gone a different way and gotten just like a creepy Santa from like from like a public a public use movie or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's beside the point. So the police officers, I think they find they find Steve's body.
Yeah, and then Karen shoots Alan.
Yeah, and so he goes down. Karen's like down there holding Matt in her arms, and the voice starts talking to the police officers, or starts talking to one of the police officers, to Alan. As like he goes to like unlock the door, Karen shoots him, and then Ben comes downstairs. Does he shoot Karen?
If I remember right, no. I think she's already dead, implying she killed herself.
Okay. And so then he goes downstairs and, finds the door, the voice asking for help. So he goes, finishes unlocking it, opens the door, and then this little girl just comes skipping out of the room.
Actually, no. I think she's still alive at the end of the movie.
Because she kind of sees it, right?
So she's like, she's injured somehow, or either that or she's just covered in her husband's blood.
I think maybe I think at some point she gets shot in some way.
Yeah, but she's I believe she's still alive, because I think they're both standing there when the little girl like skips out.
And and Karen just, and like the guy looks so confused, but also like the police officer doesn't stop this child from skipping out of the room
At all. Well, and
then Karen's like just sitting there like horrified at what's
because
just
Karen knows she's the devil has just been released,
and the devil just skips up the stairs and then skips just right out the front door and down the street, and that's the end of the movie.
Yep.
It's like you said, very short movie. Not a lot happens. Like we are kind of trying to like split hairs and figure out what happened when, because like
we're spicing up the plot a little bit, folks.
because we're just kind of trying. It's one of those where like I think you walked in and you're like, this is going to be a short episode. Like there's not a ton to talk about.
There's not. I mean, it's a short movie. I mean, even by our usual standards. And it's just, in a movie like this, you can't really rely on the plot. So we're going to have to do some discussion here, Jay.
Yeah. Do you want anything you want to talk about before we get into our topics, or?
Just that it's strange belief, Jay, based on what happens in this movie, that they would release this devil. I mean, the first time they go down there, I could see maybe it's like, oh yeah, it could just be some crazy guy that's locked up a guy in his basement. But the second time, she goes down and tries to let him out, and then he knows her name and he mocks her or whatever for making the choice not to let him out.
And has a creepy laugh.
Yes, and sounds like the devil.
And I don't get why people keep going back to I'm gonna let him out, like unless there's something about because someone's supposed to.
The only thing I can think is it's the devil's influence or whatever, trying to make people let him out.
Yeah, because they should know better, like based off of everything we know, and maybe that is kind of the intent, is that they should know better, but because the devil's influence, because that has been kind of established early on, Steve thinks the only reason Matt and Karen are there is because of the devil's influence. Maybe they are being influenced and they just don't know it.
I mean, that's the only thing I could think that would make their actions make sense.
Yeah, no, certainly from my perspective, you say to me, hey, Jay, I want to show you something in my basement. I trapped this guy and I think he's the devil, and the guy knows my name before, even though he's not heard it.
I tell you nothing about it. I lead you down to my basement, and the voice from behind the door is like, hello, Jay. I really wish you would let me out of here.
Yeah, I would be like, no, you got the devil trapped down there. Like,
I told you, Jay, I trapped the devil.
And I was certainly not being influenced to let him out.
No, I'm not. I didn't bring you down here as a sacrifice for him or anything.
But yeah, that's the only thing I can think of is that they're being influenced even though they should know better.
Yes, because that's the only thing that makes their behavior make any sense to me. So I'm just going to go with that, because otherwise it's just a bunch of people acting irrationally.
I mean, yeah, totally. All right. Well, do you want to? Where do you want to start?
Well, we might as well talk about the Christmassiness of it all, Jay.
Christmas spirit. How Christmassy is the movie? How Christmassy are the 4 kills, 3 kills?
Yeah, give
3-ish kills.
Give or take some kills. There's some kills in here.
The kills, not really at all.
Yeah, no, nothing really. Atmosphere wise, I would say medium.
It was one of those where like I know you and I both kind of said for Bloodbeat, it's kind of like, yeah, there's Christmas kind of on the edges, but it's not really important. And like this kind of feels the same way, but I think it's less on the edges because like every scene is lit by Christmas lights. There's a Christmas tree that you constantly see. I love the banister being lit by Christmas lights and stuff like that.
I went a low on Bloodbeat, but I go a medium on this one because there's just a lot more physical Christmas presence. Haha, nice pun.
I see what you did there.
Because, there's a Christmas tree in the kitchen where they're always talking, and, the lights lighting all the rooms and everything. But, I mean, other than the fact that there are Christmas things all over the place, Christmas really has no bearing on the movie.
Yeah, the reason they came was because it's Christmas time, but they could come for spring break. They could come for...
It's like these movies tend to be a reason to get people together.
Yeah, which, I mean, Christmas is kind of the reason family gets together. But, it could... there could be other times you could set.
I mean, come on, Jay. You really have to do this at Christmas. Couldn't you have trapped the devil at like the 4th of July barbecue or something?
That'd be one hell of a movie. The other thing is I will say, like, it feels cold. Like every time they're outside, there's snow on the ground. The people are wearing like winter jackets and stuff like that. And it just does kind of genuinely feel cold. I'd
say it has a decent Christmas atmosphere to it. But
I think that's a good way to put it.
At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter too much.
No, it's not. It's not a lighting wise, it's a Black Christmas 2006. But like actual like being Christmassy, it's not a Black Christmas 2006.
It could be set at any time, any place, pretty much.
Yep.
As long as you have a basement to trap the devil in, of course.
Yeah, you got to make sure you're trapping those devils. All right, well let's move on to well, why not? Let's do Christmas Carol, since I know
was
you and
gonna
I
say.
both kind of struggled.
We'll just get this out of the way now because there's not a lot. I will say not a lot of memorable dialogue from this movie.
Yeah.
We'll let Jay go first and see if we picked the same quote or
All
not.
right. Yeah, I said I had one quote, and it was like right at the beginning of the movie, and so it's literally like Matt walks in, Matt and Karen are there, and Matt and Steve are already kind of having a fight, and Matt goes, "We drove all this way to see you," and Steve goes, "You've seen me, and now you gotta go."
That was literally what I picked. That was the one thing that was memorable to me too.
And like they have like a bit more of a fight, and like I was debating kind of putting the whole kind of fight
Yeah.
in there, but I thought like just you've seen me, now you gotta go.
Yep. It felt very me. That's why I remembered it.
I mean, 100%. And that kind of captures the whole tone of the movie. Like that quote right there kind of already tells you, like, they're like, this is clearly a strained relationship, and there's clearly something going on.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Christmas wrapping next, I guess.
Yeah.
How
might as well.
set design, all that, costumes, all that good stuff.
I would say nothing really wowed me, but I mean everything was pretty good in service to the movie. I would say.
No, and the basement I loved. I love that red lit basement with the frickin' cross on the door and all that. Looks so incredibly creepy.
Yeah,
and
the light.
atmospheric.
The lighting I think really helps carry the movie because otherwise the that and the conspiracy room, the way it's set up.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I even like the newspapers on all the windows, like there's doors that are like nailed shut and stuff like that. Everything does like look very creepy.
It definitely feels like a paranoid person's house. I would say that.
I had this thought where I was like, is the reason all the Christmas stuff is up? Like, yes, the movie's taking place at Christmas, but if Steve's family died like a year ago at Christmas or whatever, did he just never take the Christmas stuff down? And so that's why all the Christmas stuff is still
Honestly,
up.
that's what I'm guessing. I think he just never took the decorations down because he's depressed.
Yep. And so that was kind of a thing I had where I was like, that's kind of a neat effect. Like, no way he put them up
No.
because it's Christmas.
No,
Those are just still
yeah.
up.
That's what I assume too, because it's like you're not really going to be in a Christmas decorating mood if you trap the devil.
Yep. I mean, I would be, but I
Well, I
understand
mean,
most people would.
Jay Loxton's an outlier.
I got this devil that I trapped in the basement that I got to show you, Jeff. No, back to quotes. Not a quote from the movie, but the thing you and I kept saying is like, you're telling me he trapped the devil? Like, we just kept bringing up the words,
my
I
God,
trapped the
yes.
devil over and over again.
We kept trapping that devil.
Like, not a quote from the movie.
It should
but
have been.
But a quote you and I just kept on saying anyways.
It should have been. At one point, the brother should have said, I trapped the devil.
You're telling me you trapped the devil? I'm saying I trapped the devil.
Yes.
What don't you understand?
He should have said the thing, Jay. He should have said the thing.
I agree. He should have said the thing. All right. Well, but no, like I think they did a good job with set design, costumes. I mean, the people feel cold when they're outside. They're
Yeah.
wearing winter coats, all that good stuff.
Typical winter costuming.
But yeah, not great. Like, nothing like memorable.
That's what I'm saying. Nothing really sticks out in my mind as like super memorable. So
But I also it kind of feels like normal people's
yes.
clothes.
It didn't feel laughably bad or anything like some other movies I could name. American Scream.
The guy just wearing, what was it, like a Mickey Mouse like jean jacket.
Yeah. But yeah, nothing super memorable either.
All right. Well, on to next would be Broken Bulb, Brilliant Bulb. That's the one thing we haven't done.
I suppose we should do that.
One
Jay.
thing you would fix, one thing you want to shout out or praise.
All right, who wants to go first?
I think you and I talked about it. We've got kind of the same thing for Broken Bulb.
Yes.
Pacing.
Yes. This is one of those I told Jay before we started recording. There's slow burn. Well, there's action movies, there's slow burn movies, and then there's no burn movies. And I think this is a no burn movie. Whereas something like The Leech, which I'm probably going to compare this to a lot, is a slow burn movie. This feels like a no burn movie where basically all the information you get about this movie you're going to get in like the first 10 minutes, and then there's a large period of waiting in the middle, and then something happens at the end.
I agree. Like there are some like really great moments and stuff like that, but yeah, they're kind of so few and far between. like I think you said, have more of like the devil,
Yes.
like more interactions with the devil.
Yes, if you can boil this down, you can basically boil down My Broken Bulb too. In the movie I Trap the Devil, there's not nearly enough devil.
Yep. No, I think that's a good statement to make. But on to Brilliant Bulb. For me, the thing I want to praise, just the creepy kind of atmospheric music, the soundtrack and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I see a lot of praise for that going around, and I agree. It's a memorable soundtrack. At some points, I would say it's almost overpowering, which is why I didn't pick it for mine. But it's pretty good.
No, the one thing that I think I would have added, like I thought the soundtrack was great. I just love like kind of this creepy music that kind of plays just kind of creepy tonal music. It's not even like really like music. It's just kind of like weird kind of sounds and stuff like that. I would have loved like a creepy Christmas song at some point. Like
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that like have that, it's a movie that's taking place at Christmas. Have a little bit of creepy Christmas music in there.
Especially with the creepy TV already thrown in, you could have easily thrown in like a warped Christmas song coming out of the TV.
Yeah, no, I think I would have done something like a bit more with that. I think it would have been perfect for me, but I just loved that soundtrack. I thought, or the sounds or whatever, like I was saying.
My Brilliant Bulb was the cinematography. I think this is like a beautifully shot movie, especially the way they use the sets and the lighting to like kind of tell the story, because they don't do a whole lot of storytelling like in the writing and dialogue. But I thought it stood out. It gave me Leech vibes, which was also another beautifully shot movie. But this one kind of had its own unique style and flair to it, with all the Christmas based lighting and everything. And it was one of the most memorable things about the movie for me. That's why I picked it.
Let's you brought it up a couple times. Let's talk about the Leech of it all.
Yes,
because I said to you, like, I think this would be a fun double feature alongside the Leech, because they're both very similar movies. The Leech does take place in other locations, not just
yes, it's
the house.
less of a bunker movie. But I mean, at the end of the day, most of the Leech does take place at David's house.
Yeah, but I also love that, like, in the Leech, David welcomes them into into his house, where in I Trap the Devil, Steve wants to keep the people out of his house.
Trying to push them away from it, yeah.
In the Leech, he's bringing people are being brought in, and kind of like wants to like build his family, where Steve is kind of pushing his family away because he wants to keep them safe. And then also you get the whole, the endings are similar with the girl leaving David's house at the end after he kills himself and Brian, is that the name of the guy?
I think so. Yeah.
And like her kind of walking out while she's pregnant, and then you mix that with the little girl skipping out the front door of the house.
Yes.
Like very similar kind of endings too.
And also just the overall spirit of the movies is the same, not knowing whether this person is crazy or whether this crazy stuff is really happening to him.
No, yeah, I just think it'd be a great double feature,
Yeah.
like those two movies together back to back.
I agree, but I would say probably watch The Leech second, so you finish strong.
Yeah, I agree. I also think the Leech. I would also do the Leech second, because I think like the comedy in the Leech
Yes.
would kind of help alleviate some of the tension, where like I Trap the Devil is all tension, it feels like.
All right. I think it's time, Jay.
Final
I
rating.
think we got to rate these.
All right. Well, as we do on every episode of Horror for the Holidays, we rate our Christmas horror movie on one of three categories. Is it ho ho hilarious? Is it seasonally scary? Or is it you'll be sorry? Jeff.
It's going to be a you will be sorry for me. I wanted to give it a seasonally scary. I tried to justify it in my mind. But at the end of the day, every time I watched this movie, I would say 2.5 times. Because I watched it the first time with you, I didn't really think it was that great. But I was like, maybe this is one of the ones, you have to watch twice. Because some of the movies I've definitely appreciated more on a rewatch. But honestly, I found this one to be just, at the end of the day, it's a slow burn, but it's just too slow for me. Not enough happened story-wise to keep me engaged. I think the acting was okay, but not great. It's kind of because I was comparing it in my mind to The Leech, because we kind of talked about that before we even watched it. And that movie, doing a similar concept, just has such great performances and stuff. This one kind of feels like, not quite as good. And the whole it has a lot more unbelievability to it for me, like I talked about earlier, as it becomes more and more obvious that, yes, the devil is trapped in the basement. People just continue to like act like he's crazy, even though they've experienced it for themselves at this point. I think it would have been better for them to just not believe him at all up until like the very end of the movie. I think it would have been stronger for that, for them to just act like he was crazy the whole time rather than flip-flopping back and forth.
No, so I gave it a seasonally scary, but like I can see what like a lot of your complaints, and I completely understand it. But it's for me, it's the oppressive atmosphere of the whole movie. It's just the fact that like, you know, it makes you feel real. To me, like I felt real kind of tense when I watched this movie, and like you know, second time around, third time around, like less so. But like the first time I watched it, I just felt incredibly just kind of like on edge and very like amped up. And, you know, and I think the soundtrack really does help with that. You know, there are a lot of positives to take from this movie. Like we said, the soundtrack, the lighting, the cinematography. I even think like all the actors do a very, very good job. I think there's a really, really neat idea here. And I think there were some interesting swings that were taken, and not all of them connected. Not all of them were executed well, but like overall, like I liked this movie well enough that like it is super creepy. And I was like, you know, yeah, it's a little bit of a, you know, there might be a little bit of an asterisk next to it, you know, like I said at the beginning, either you're going to kind of love this movie or you're going to hate it. And, you know, so kind of, you know, keep that in mind if you go to watch it. But for me, I really did like this movie, and I thought it was just super creepy.
Yeah, I will say it's got a nice atmosphere, but at the end of the day, it wasn't enough for me, just the atmosphere. I liked, that's one of the reasons I love The Leech so much, I think, is because it's dripping with like a tense, paranoid atmosphere, but you also get like the crazy comedy and the wild like mood swings of David as he descends into madness. I think this could have, like I said, honestly, I think this would have been a seasonally scary for me if there was more devil.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. All right, so last thing we've got is naughty list.
Yep, we got a naughty list this, Jay.
Let's take our devil, the villain of our movie, and rank him against the villains of other movies. And the only villain I could think of to be on par with the devil would be the devil.
Ah, yes, the devil from Letters to Satan Claus, Jay.
Which, while I love the devil in Letters to Satan Claus,
he's a goofy devil.
it's a big goofy goofball.
Yeah.
Well, this movie, it's a bit, you know, it's this monstrous kind of, you know, even though you don't really see the devil, although you hear a creepy voice and you see a little girl, very clearly the devil.
Yes.
It's so much more sinister. It's so much more terrifying.
You feel the devil's presence and power in this one a lot more than you do.
The thing you and I talked about for rare exports, right?
Yep.
Where like you don't really see Santa's power, it's kind of implied.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of like, is the devil influencing these people? You and I think yes.
I mean, I would almost have to think so. Otherwise, yeah, it seems weird that they wouldn't believe this, and they keep seesawing back and forth between believing and not believing.
And and the only way that works is if it's like actually the devil like exerting like some presence because it's trapped in this location.
Also, trying to drive Steve crazy.
Yep. So I think I would put the devil above Satan Claus.
Yes.
But below whatever we had above Satan Claus, which I think were like literal apocalypses and everything like
apocalypses and like unkillable monsters.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good place for it.
Yeah, I agree.
Once again, here I promised that I was going to go and listen to all the episodes and actually write down the naughty list, and I've not done it yet. So
someday. Maybe it'll be a Patreon perk, Jay. The actual naughty list.
Maybe we'll... maybe I'll download all the episodes while we're driving to New Jersey.
Oh god!
And we could just write them all down. I'll probably drive off the road if I have to listen to myself talk for.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really want to listen to myself talk for 17 hours either.
Right. So we probably won't do that, but we'll try to figure something out.
Yeah, I think we can compile a naughty list. I think it's possible.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
we might as well do it now before we have too many episodes to look through.
That's a promise. Hopefully by our first main episode in May, we will
we'll have some kind of naughty list.
We'll have some kind of naughty list. Well,
trap a devil in the basement. Maybe.
Now that we've successfully freed the devil, it's time to shove some garbage in our faces in a segment we like to call
Garbage Day. Huh? No.
Jeff. Well, it's halfway to Halloween. That's what they like to call April in spooky circles.
Yes.
But we also have had a couple recent releases, so I've got a mixed bag of stuff. We're gonna split it over 2 episodes.
Got a lot of stuff.
To go through all this stuff, and also we'll kind of talk about our weird. We're probably gonna have some weird episodes revolving around with going to New Jersey.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that as well. But
Hope I don't run into the Jersey Devil, Jay.
oh man, don't trap him in your basement. But yeah, let's at least try a couple things.
Let's try a thing.
For halfway to Halloween.
Uh,
I'm making a mess. All right, the first thing I got is Cheetos Flamin' Hot Smoky Ghost Pepper Puffs for Ghostbusters: The Frozen Empire.
oh no.
I've heard those are great.
I hope it doesn't taste like the Frozen Empire.
I've heard they're awesome. It's got Chester the Cheetah on the front of the bag. Smoky Ghost Pepper is Smoky Ghost Pepper Puffs has like mixed weird fonts, but Chester the Cheetah's dressed like a Ghostbuster. He's got some ectoplasm on his shoulder.
It's
Looks
really
great.
good. I like it. Nice flavor.
I'll try one of these here in a second. And then the other thing I've got is something I found on sale. So hold on.
Oh no. I hate it when Jay Logston finds sales. Oh no.
So I went to our local grocery store, and there was one bottle of, I don't even know the name of the company.
No one knows where it came from, Jay. It just appeared on the shelf one day.
Dinner Distillery from Clive, Iowa. So right here, candy corn flavored whiskey. So we're gonna take a little
quick sip of that.
and then I got one more thing to wash it down with.
You think it's a sipping whiskey, Jay? This candy corn whiskey?
I have no idea. I've been waiting for this exact moment.
All right.
I haven't even opened it yet. So this is we're opening it live on air.
Here we go. Oh, he's struggling with the cellophane. It's tough, folks. Oh, he's opening it. Hasn't exploded yet, so I think we're good.
It had no price associated with it. Oh shit, I'm dropping everything. It had no price associated with it. And so I kind of took it up to the front just to see what would happen if they scanned it. Because I'm like, if it's like $10-$20, I'll pay for it. They gave it to me for $5.
Well,
because they could not find it anywhere in the system.
it smells like straight grain alcohol, Jay.
Oh, I don't know. I'm getting a very sweet candy corn kind of scent.
Oh, yeah? Well, Jay Logston is lush. Oh, he's got his shot glasses.
I was gonna say if you'd rather do that instead of
Here, I'll take that shot
here,
glass.
you can have Tiffany. I've got Chucky.
Okay.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Here we go.
It's not actually that bad.
I was gonna say it's way better than I was expecting, actually.
Like very sweet. Like not at all. Like I can kind of see why you would call it candy corn.
Yeah. No, it's not as bad as I thought. It still has that heavy whiskey burn, but yeah,
I think it's actually pretty good. I'm very impressed. I was worried this was gonna suck.
Fairly pleasant flavor for a mystery bottle Jay Logston found on the shelf for $5.
No, and so I had to walk them back to the wine and spirits section and point to them where I found it, and they're like, "There's no price tag here." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know how much it is." And so then the guy was like, "I'll just give it to you for $5, okay?" And so, all right, I'll take it.
Sold.
No, that's really good. I might buy that again if I see it again.
Honestly, yeah, pretty good. All right, Jay, what am I washing this down with?
All right, well, and you're gonna wash it down with another thing I found discounted at Hy-Vee.
Oh no.
Logan Paul's Prime Glowberry.
You know, I've tried a few of the primes. They're not terrible. I've never tried a Glowberry.
I don't know that it's... So I thought it was Halloween because the first time I saw it was at Halloween time. I didn't buy it because I went, I'm not going to support Logan Paul. He tried a buckshot lariat and tore his ACL. He's a piece of shit. And then, like, I saw it was... I think it was one for $1. And, like I want to say maybe in, like, January. And I was like... All right, I'm buying that. Jeff and I are going to try it in April. So,
All right, I agree. Let's try it.
But yeah, black and green kind of label on the side, kind of got a faint green color.
A little bit, yeah.
I would almost, maybe melon is kind of the scent I'm getting.
Melon. I'm getting kind of like a gummy worm scent almost.
Honestly, it's very sweet. I don't know that I think it's good.
It's not terrible. I'd say passable.
But yeah, it's
Not as good as the whiskey.
Yeah, I think that whiskey's the winner. Although I have not tried one of the ghost pepper puffs yet. So let me try that.
Go
real
ahead,
fast.
Jay. Let's wrap this up. Try one of those puffs and see if your mouth can survive the heat. It's actually pretty good. The smoky ghost pepper flavor is kind of like a bite at the end, almost. You get it as like an after flavor.
I would almost categorize like the front of it as very barbecue-y, almost. Like, did you kind of get
You
that
get
flavor?
that smoky barbecue flavor, definitely, yeah.
No, it's not. There is some heat. It kind of lingers with you, but it's not terrible. But yeah, it's not bad, honestly. I think we got 3 moderate winners here.
Yep, I agree. Nothing amazing, but also nothing terrible. I think this is a fairly good garbage day segment, Jay.
I would say probably the worst, Glowberry Prime.
Yeah. No, I'd say Glowberry, then the whiskey, then the Cheetos, probably. Would be my rating.
I think I would flip the whiskey and the Cheetos.
Oh, okay. Well, you are more of a drinker than me.
But yeah, otherwise,
yeah.
all 3 are pretty solid. I'm getting the hiccups here. I don't know if it's because that was so hot and I wasn't expecting it. Woo. Or if it's because I'm already drunk from half a shot of candy corn whiskey. But woo,
It's 11 in the morning, Jay.
I got those. I just got some hiccups going. Ooh, all right.
All right. Well, to spare Jay Logsdon, I think we'll wrap this up.
All right. Yeah. So, real fast, I think we're going to try and do a stocking stuffer next week.
Yes.
And then the week after we'll be in New Jersey, but I think we will do a stocking stuffer about our whole trip to New Jersey.
I agree. I think
I think we'll have kind of 3 back-to-back stocking stuffers. Maybe we'll take 1 week off somewhere in there, just to kind of just recharge, and then so I think our first full episode. Let me pull up the calendar on the computer here. So we got this episode will come out the 15th, the 22nd. Might be a stocking stuffer, or we might skip that week. The 29th will be the stocking stuffer about our trip to New Jersey, which would then mean that the week after that, May 6th, would be another potential stocking stuffer, or that might be the week we skip.
That could be.
And then, so the 13th will be like our next mainline episode, our next movie episode.
I believe that's right.
So yeah, we're gonna kind of have a weird schedule. You might get 3 stocking stuffers, you might get 2. Just kind of depends on scheduling and everything. But we at least plan on getting 1 out on the 29th to kind of talk about New Jersey and everything like that. That way, just talk about our experience, all the people we met. Hopefully, I've heard from a couple people that they might be there. So
yeah. We're expecting to see some friends, hopefully.
Yeah. So should be a fun time. And yeah, we'll kind of do a audio blog podcast about our whole trip out to New Jersey and if we survive the trip.
Yes.
But other than that,
I think just follow us on all the things.
Yeah, follow us on all the social medias. We are at horror4 holidays.
YouTube.com/horror for the holidays. Subscribe, hit the bell. All the podcatchers.
Yep, all those things. Do the rating, do the reviewing, do the subscribing. Tell a friend. That's the best thing to do.
That's the main thing. That helps the show grow. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Matt wrote a review of being on this podcast in Rue Morgue, and that's how Spencer found out about the podcast. So
indeed, and thank you again.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, tell a friend. We'll probably bring some business cards with us.
Yes,
too, so we can hand those out. If you're a listener and you see two fat guys walking around, one of them wearing a Silent Night Deadly Night shirt and has a bunch of Christmas horror movie tattoos, come up and tell us you're a fan of the show.
Yes,
we'll give you some business cards. That way you can keep one for yourself and pass them around to friends and stuff like that.
So we'll be the comic duo of one short and one tall man.
Yeah. Classic duo. The David Spade and Chris Farley, if both of them were fat.
And that's true. Well, I mean, David Spade is fat now.
Yeah, he is now, but he wasn't then. Anyway.
All right. Well, this has been a fun one. I was happy to trap the devil with you, Jay.
I was happy to trap the devil with you too, buddy. We'll see you again at some point in the next 4 weeks. Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
Bye. Honestly, I think we got 3 moderate.
Yeah.
Oh.